Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Morology here, and there's still construction work outside, so there may be some noise. This is why I am an anti-feminist, part 4. It would be safe to say, by peeping but a little beneath the crow's silver that lines the surface of feminism, that it does not exactly hold the greatest opinion of women. It does hold feminist women in great regard, bordering on deification. But that is not your average woman, that is feminist women. And it does have some weird holier-than-thou hang-ups regarding female nature, despite neither masculinity nor femininity being natural according to them. It is a weird thing, and an incredibly strange trip. In my writings, I tend to focus on men and the opinion feminism has in regards to men. The reason for this should be easy to understand. Society, as it is, does neither talk nor care about the plight of men. Feminism insists the opposite, despite it very clearly not being true. One needs look no further than beyond the political indoctrination, the tangled web of lies which feminism have placed over our eyes. They point to the top 1% in society, see mainly men, and state that this means women are oppressed and men are oppressors. Otherwise, why should there be so many men at the top? This is known as the apex fallacy. In looking only to the top, they neglect looking at the bottom. And at the bottom of society, in all the negative statistics, all the destructive statistics, all the suicides, all the homelessness, all the workplace fatalities, all the drug addictions, all the alcohol addictions, all violent crimes, excepting rape, and this may very well be for reasons of rape not being recorded as rape when it is a man being forced to penetrate a woman, and so forth and so on, we find an overwhelming amount of men. Men die younger than women. Men lose custody of their children during divorce. And despite new studies showing that domestic violence is so close to being 50-50 in regards to who is the victim and who is the perpetrator that a few percentages difference does not matter all that much, shelters for men seeking to escape domestic violence hardly exist, whereas shelters for women exist aplenty. Interesting to note is also that there are higher incidents of domestic violence in lesbian relationships than there are in both male homosexual relationships and heterosexual relationships. It is also worth noting that in most cases of domestic violence, the violence is reciprocal, with both instigating and amplifying and playing on one another's terrible tendencies and broken psyche. In non-reciprocal domestic violence, the woman is the perpetrator more often than not. And yet, police and society overall have a hard time believing men to be victims of domestic violence. They have a hard time believing that women are capable of being abusive. More often than not, they end up arresting him instead of her, thus adding severe insult to severe injury. And feminism doth protest with all their might whenever someone attempts to create a shelter for abused men. For that would be sharing societal resources with men, and that will not stand. For all of the resources of society must go to women. This includes empathy. And this must be that equal treatment they keep telling me about. I find it interesting and peculiar that feminism will claim that MRAs don't do anything but bitch and moan about feminism, then protest when MRAs attempt to open shelters for abused men, or attempt to get the government to do something about the plight of men, or have conferences attempting to shine a light on the issues predominantly affecting men. Feminism claims that MRAs don't do anything to help men, then protest and complain when MRAs do something that would help men. I am lucky to be cynical. This nonsense surprises me less since I have learned to expect it. That is what a lifetime of overt hostility will get you. All these problems facing men, all these issues that men face are neglected, shooed away and forgotten. It saddens me and it angers me and, at the worst of time, it depresses me. I have no problems with the issues primarily affecting women being taken seriously. I have severe problems with the claims that women, only women, suffer, or that the suffering of women is so much worse and more important than that of men. No matter what it is a woman's issue. So you see articles popping up stating that men are lonely and this is a burden on women, and men are earning less college or university degrees and this is a burden on women, and on, and on, and on. Never have I ever encountered such incredible egotism, such rampant selfishness and disregard for other human beings. The loneliness and social isolation of men are a burden on women. I have severe issues with this lopsided approach to equal treatment, where equal treatment of the sexes has come to mean nothing but give this shit to women, for they are women. And this makes sense, of course, in a society in which we have learned that only women matter. At the same time we are told that men get everything handed to them. Double speak and psychological projection, and a good serving of horse piss and bullshit. Not that long ago, I wrote a response piece to an article. The name of my piece is Crucified in Toilet Cubicles, a tale of women pooping. This was a rare spur-of-the-moment thing, written and then recorded for the tubes within the span of 2 hours. Not my finest work in all honesty. I usually don't do responses like that. The simple reason for this is that I tend to think very slowly. I consider and I ponder and I doubt myself and my abilities to such an extent that it surely has got to be a sign of some neurological defect. When I finally get around to responding, the original piece is long forgotten, tossed to the annals of internet history. And as we all know, in internet time, 1 day is damned close to 17 real-life years. Originally, I was planning on posting something other than the poop piece, but this had to come first. It was, quite literally, a much-needed shitpost. And the reason I reacted so viscerally, so quickly, so roughly and so brutally to that one article is very simple. The article I responded to, if you have not read it, was published in the New York Times and was a tale of woe and worry about women pooping at work, and how hard this was for them. Due to the patriarchy and due to men and so and such and blah blah blah. And I reacted so viscerally to this article due to this petty, goddamned fucking non-issue about women having their own small neuroses, their own petty personal hang-ups about pooping. This is given attention. This needs to be taken seriously. This is being published. This is being pushed as an important issue affecting women, while at the same goddamn time, men are not afforded shelters, men commit suicide at frightening rates, men lose access to their children, men lose in education, they lose in the workplace, they drop out of society. And no one cares about this, no one touches this, no one views this as a problem, but a few who are labelled goddamn misogynists by the feminist hive mind that consider women being scared to poop far more important than men killing themselves. It is safe to say that it really struck a nerve with me. And with good fucking reason. We live within a cultural narrative, within a maddening societal zeitgeist that have decided that all the small and petty issues, all the personal hang-ups and personal grievances of women are more important than anything men go through. Men don't suffer any hardships, don't you know? So Mrs. Poopy Pants and her neglected toilet trip is a worse story of far more importance to society than Mr. Suicide and the ex-wife that won't let him see his goddamn children. And all the while, all the goddamned motherfucking cock-sucking, unlubricated, anal-fisting, horse-sodomite while, the feminist hive mind snarls and gnarls and gnaw their bones, claiming that men have it ever so good and women have it ever so bad. And people listen to them. All the time, people listen to them. And they claim, they dare to make the claim, that they help men as well. It turns my stomach to rot, as it turns the entirety of society to rot and to ruin. The feminist way to help men is to have a panel of only feminist women gibbering and cackling and clucking about how men are obsolete and what men need to do to fix themselves. Men need not apply. Only women are allowed to tell men what to do, what they need to do and how to live their lives. Men are not allowed to speak on behalf of men. That would be misogyny. Men are not allowed to speak on behalf of women either. That too would be misogyny. Men are not allowed to speak at all, for that is misogyny. See the tactic? Here, within my shattered basement cavern throne room, you'll get it mansplained to you by yours truly, the grand, majestic, man-spreading patriarch supreme, whose testicles are just as much a tool of oppression as is his swinging cock, from now until the end of time to be referred to as a savage, unmutilated rape implement of doom and wanton destruction. No wonder that people struggle to comprehend the fact that men have problems in society. Feminism have told their fairy tales for so many decades that people would rather believe that sooner than they would believe objective reality, sooner than they would believe measurable reality. This horrible insistence from feminism that all the problems of men are due solely to men, as are all the problems of women, do nothing but taint everything in shades of deep period blood crimson. It is rage-inducing, and so simplistic, though wrapped in enough magic word salad gibberish to sound profound. For men to be saved, they must first cleanse themselves of masculinity. For masculinity is the problem, and femininity the solution, despite both being social constructs. As of course feminism is as well, but that is a social construct we shall trust as opposed to the social construct of gender, despite gender being biological when it suits feminism. Men and masculinity are the cause of all the problems of society, as well as being the solution to all the problems in society, according to feminism, which tend to view women as objects, mere automatons with no agency of their own, no ability to do anything about anything but be acted upon. That is unless they bend the knee to feminism, thus becoming part of the feminist machine and move with the click and crack and dubious twirling of the cogs and wheels and pins and buttons and clockwork within. Women are nothing without feminism, can do nothing without moving with the machinery of feminism. And they claim that men have a poor opinion of women. Feminism does not consider women to have any manner of agency or self-determination. Were I a woman, I would very much be insulted by feminism pretending to speak on my behalf, painting me as an emotionally frail and fragile wreck to be so prone to being ruled and governed by the terrible forces of men that I am completely unable to make my own choices and have my own thoughts on anything, thus needing feminism to think for me, act for me, speak for me, and do everything but take a piss for me. Whatever I may mean about this does not matter though. It will be dismissed as mansplaining, horrible misogyny and harassment of women. For feminist women are so strong and independent that they cannot stand people disagreeing with them. This is mansplaining, in actual fact meaning nothing but a man saying something a feminist dislikes. And so goes the herping of the derp. It would probably come as no surprise to learn that I am pissed off at feminism, as well as being pissed off with... no, not pissed off. I'm not angry with society. I'm just disappointed. Severely disappointed at a society so dumb and unthinking as to fall for the lies, slander, bullshit and poop-flinging antics of feminism. Yet my rants, ravings and ramblings are nothing. Absolutely nothing. You should hear my wife going off on them. It ain't pretty. Milady is most displeased with the current state of affairs. That is putting it nicely. But what would you expect? Individual feminists have spoken to her previously in so condescending tones that you should think they believed they were talking to a child, not an intelligent adult woman with agency and self-determination. Because she thinks for herself, and in so doing does not allow feminism to think for her, and in so doing, to the eyes of the feminist hive mind, she has allowed some horribly misogynistic patriarch in the guise of her husband to think for her. She has internalized her soggy niece. This is how feminism sees women that do not agree with feminism, as petulant, wayward children, worthy of condescension at best and scorn at worst. Chew on that for a little while. Feminism view women as so incapable of thinking for themselves that, if they do not subscribe to the feminist narrative, they must be under the spell and curse of the patriarchy, allowing the patriarchy to think for them. It is either feminism or internalized misogyny, not neither, and certainly not a woman picking and choosing her own path and her own goddamned role in life. That is verboten, strictly, and punitive measures will be taken. This is black and white thinking. That alone should be a red flag. The out group is bad, the in group is not, no matter what they do. This is cult-like thinking, and people would do well to be concerned. And women such as my wife, to the feminist hive mind, are free game and may be hunted at will. They have lost their woman card. They have become strange outliers that are neither feminist nor man, but some horrifying mutant creature. They should have their vaginas taken away according to Linda Sarsour. They are effectively outlawed, not to be protected by feminism, who would, were it a feminist woman suffering the treatment non-feminist women suffer at the hands and blubbering mouths of feminism, state quite bluntly that one cannot treat women like that. It is harassment and violence and misogyny and other such buzzwords that don't mean anything anymore on account of their overuse. This proves once again that feminism does not care for women, nor for men, nor for any sex. They care for feminism, and they care for women who subscribe to the feminist victim cult, feminist women, whose strength and independence is such that they cannot stand a man explaining something, cannot stand a woman thinking for herself. Were their tall tales to be scrutinized and exposed to the unwashed masses, feminism would lose its power and its funding, and that would be their downfall. Everyone who opposed must therefore and by necessity be ganged up on, curb stomped and left for dead for fear that they would otherwise prove without a doubt that the Empress has no clothes. Or skin, for that matter. I have been called this and labelled that and referred to as the other since I started writing on all this stuff. I have been told that my opposition to feminism could not possibly mean anything but me wanting to go back to a time that would allow me to chain my wife to the kitchen to cook dinner and birth children and do nothing but that. And I keep referring to this incident, and I will explain why it keeps popping up. See, it is not because the words are hurtful, nor that they hurt my trademarked fragile masculinity. It is the absurdity of the thing, the assuredness of the statement delivered for reasons of me opposing feminism being the dominant ism in our crack house societies. It is complete and utter absurdity, penny dreadful tales sold in bulk by feminist ideologues with cancer of the reason which unfortunately has spread to the sense. It is fear-mongering and vapid attempts at shame that does nothing but piss me off and strengthen both my resolve and my opposition, and my throbbing rage boner. How anyone can believe that stating something like that as truth would change my perspective of feminism is beyond me. Telling me what I think and believe when I know that I think and believe quite the opposite is stupid, and it is incredibly lazy, intellectual dishonesty at its very best. It is the most absurd tactic, claiming that I would do something that I know I would not do, that I am saying something that I do not say nor ever have said or would say, that I hold opinions which I do not hold in order to shame me into compliance when I know full well that I do not hold these opinions which the feminist hive mind lay in my mouth is brain-dead egotistical ramblings. From someone who obviously is so used to getting everything just the way they want that anything opposing their worldview cannot possibly exist and thusly must exist either as lies or as pure, raw, savage and unfiltered hatred of women on my part, including hatred of my wife. One would believe that, were the feminists to really and truly believe that I hate all women, including my wife, the feminist would not believe that shaming me for hating women would work. It is the craziest thing. It is saying in so many words that I don't care what you really say, I have decided in my ruptured mind that this is what you say, and I feel no reservations in telling you what you say, because you obviously do not know what you say or think or mean. I am the one who knows what you say or think or mean, not you. You must forgive me this rant. It just boggles my mind something awful that anyone can look to the writings of someone else and tell that someone that they have written something which they have not written, and expect this to be taken seriously as an argument by the one who wrote the bloody thing to begin with. That is the tactics of feminism. Illogical attempts at smearing and shaming, putting words in the mouths of other people and trying to convince them that this is what they said and what they meant, not what they actually said and actually meant. It is so ridiculous that I am wasting energy and precious calories getting so worked up about it. Granted, given my wife and her incredible cooking skills, I could do with losing some calories, particularly around the gut area, but that is not the point. The point is that I need to loosen the chains on my wife. She has expressed interest in leaving the kitchen to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. For all the insistence that I am a horribly misogynistic bastard, for all the claims that I am only looking for something to complain about, for all the emotional reasoning behind the complaints in regards to my writings and the narcissism barely hidden behind the feminist moaning about it, for all the attempts at reading my mind and telling me what I really think as opposed to what I actually think, I would dare say that I hold women in much higher regard than feminism does, because I believe women to be adult human beings. I would dare make the claim, and truthfully so, that I not only believe that the sexes should be treated equally, but that I live it. That is equal rights, equal responsibilities and equal consequences. Equal rights and equal lefts, in other words. No hand up, no handouts, no deification of either sex. No fucking chivalry. Respect is earned, not given, no matter which sex. And it is earned by how one behaves. If a woman acts like an insufferable cunt, she is worthy of just as much of my scorn as a man that acts like an insufferable knobhead. If a woman acts properly and treats other people with respect, she is worthy of just as much respect as a man that acts properly and treats other people with respect. This should not be that difficult to understand. It is treating the sexes equally. Nothing more and nothing less. This is men and women being held to the same standards. This bullshit about respecting women is the most concentrated bullshit I have ever encountered. It is quadruply distilled bullshit of the highest potency. And I am a connoisseur of fine vintage bullshit, having amassed quite a collection over the course of my life. This respect women bullshit elevates women to something other than humanity, something that must be respected solely for the genitalia between her legs. Where men have to earn respect, women must be given respect no matter how they act or behave merely for being women. I don't have any time for that dribble. No one should have any time for that piss pottery. Men and women are of equal worth and equal value as human beings. This is my firmly held conviction. Absolutely equal worth and absolutely equal value. This means that I respect women just as much as I respect men, and I respect men just as much as I respect women. Conversely, I have just as little respect for women as I have for men. It depends not on one's sex, but on one's behavior, on the content of one's character. I am a firm believer that what goes around comes around. Act like an asshole, you're going to be treated like an asshole. This is something the feminist hive mind have forgotten, or more likely simply neglected in their quest for respect of women. It is another fanciful and terrifying way for them to shut down any opposition by the oldest tactic in the book, the shaming of the male. When opposition to their drivel is met with "you have no respect for women," most blue-pilled and blue-balled men tremble and fall to their knees and do everything in their power to prove that they do, in fact, have respect for women. And then the conversation moves from whatever he originally opposed to whether he respects women or not. It moves from a topical discussion to a discussion about his character, wherein he must defend himself against all manner of accusation, and in defending himself he has admitted to being at fault. In admitting to being at fault, there is no stopping the feminist hive mind, for they have spotted weakness, smelled blood in the water, and so they close in for the kill. One must never apologize to these people and their smear merchant tactics. This happens without a fault. It is the oldest tactic in the book. A man cannot stand to be shamed by a woman. Must be because all men hate women and have no respect for them. Heh. Fucking heh. Well then, dear feminist, have you no respect for men? Here ended part 4, and there is more yet to come. You know, I might just clean all this up later when I am done with it and publish it as a book. It reached a point where my literary cup literally runneth over with words and hasty typing, and I need money for hookers and cocaine, or at the very least for caffeine and dog food. Join me next week for part 5. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Please consider sharing, liking and clicking on the notification bell. That would help the channel grow and the message be spread. Also, please take a look at the links down below. Catch you next time.